Ibou, self-made, wrestling purist, wrestling Twitter, wrestling slut. What's going on, my man?
I'm good, man. Thank you for having me, Ryan. You reached out a couple days ago to see if there was interest in doing a show, and of course I was down. Listen, man, I'm a big fan of your account, and I like talking wrestling, and I wanted to do this gesture to kind of show people that, like, I'll do your show. You know what I mean? I wanted to kind of good faith pop in. You know what I mean? I'm not beholden to one YouTube channel. I pop up anywhere and talk wrestling. You know, if you're down to talk. So I'm here to just talk ball with you, man. We're gonna talk about this John Cena Cody Rhodes matchup for WrestleMania, and everything that encompasses: the program, the news surrounding the show, the match itself, and my predictions. So I'm excited to get into it with you.
All right, let me catch everyone up on what we do here. What we do is we do one match per person, right? I have a Rolodex of people that I roll in, and for instance, here we're going to talk Cody Rhodes, John Cena at WrestleMania, and then we'll have one release per day, or kind of a few per day as we kind of get closer to WrestleMania. And after the end of that, I'll have typically what I'll do is throw all those recordings into one Podio oddcast release where we have one preview all together. But I don't know, I like to break it down into small increments so we can kind of dive deep when it warrants it. And for sure, I think this match warrants it. Absolutely.
That's a big one, man. It's the match that followed the angle of the decade, so to speak. I mean, John Cena turned heel in the last year of his career. This is a move that nobody would have expected during his retirement tour. And he did this at Elimination Chamber, a move that, in my personal opinion, was a late call. I don't think this was the plan months out. They were always going to do this match, but I don't think John was supposed to be a bad guy. And they did it to juice up WrestleMania. And so this is the biggest match on the show. The question is, how big can this get? And it really depends on how they play this when it comes to who wins and the direction coming out of it. As we're going to get into, I mean, we've had 3 weeks of build now so far, Ryan. Cody Rhodes, John Cena across from each other on Monday Night Raw, 3 promos. I really liked one of them. I did not like one of them, and the other one I was mixed on. And there's positives to this build so far, and there's been a couple negatives. And again, how impactful this ends up being is going to be dependent on how they play this, not just in the remainder of the build, but also on the night. You know, so I'm excited to get into it.
Yeah, no doubt. So Cody Rhodes has been your WWE champion for a little bit over a year, competing with the likes of Solo Sikoa, AJ Styles, Kevin Owens, and even Gunther, right? John Cena has last won a match one-on-one since the last time was, do you want to guess, or you want me to just throw it at you?
John Cena's last victory, wasn't it like one of those like special shows in like 2018 or something?
Yeah, the greatest Royal Rumble in Saudi Arabia, 2018.
My
so
God.
Exactly 7 years ago. And all that being said is Cody's battered, he's bruised, and mentally, physically going through that heroic battle with Kevin Owens that kind of damaged his career, so to speak. Can you imagine what it did to Cody, kayfabe-wise, coming in here? And he finds himself vulnerable, right? With a gesture heading his way. He's mentally tired. He is, he's kind of sick of maybe being that top guy, is he? Because then The Rock pops up out of nowhere like he does, and then offers his hand, offers his limelight, and wants Cody's soul. All that being said, man, of course it's going to factor at WrestleMania, but do you find that kind of that historical moment that you talked about was a little loose with, let me just throw it this way. What if John Cena didn't win that match and the Cody Rhodes said no to the soul? Like,
right. What happens then? What was the plan?
Yeah, right? Where are we at? Like, what's all that? Like, so that's kind of like,
That's an easy hole you can poke in the story, because it's like, that's why for it to work, Ryan, you basically have to interpret it as John Cena made a split second in the moment desperate decision, right? You have to, for that angle to work, basically you have to take it as John sees his own futility. He sees his own mortality. He knows that the clock is ticking. He knows that time is running out, and he hasn't been successful in recent weeks. Not recent years, right?
7.
John is for this story to work and for that angle to work, it has to be a case of, this is my only hope. I gotta go for Rock's offer here to help me get where I need to be. And that would fit with how he won the Chamber, because the way he won the Chamber was Seth Rollins came back in the match. He curb stomps Cody Rhodes. Sorry, CM Punk. Yep. And then John just capitalizes on this and just chokes him out with the STF. And so for the angle itself to work after the match, John has to basically make a split-second decision and say, well, if he's not going to go for it, then I'm going to fucking go for it. But my problem is, I think that's a great story to tell. I really do. But they haven't necessarily told that story on TV. Now, John's immediate follow-up on the TV was, I did it because of you people, and the way you guys have treated me throughout the years, and this and that. And my initial reaction to that promo, Ryan, I don't know where you stood on it, but I was like, man, this would have been a hell of a promo to cut after like WrestleMania 29 in like 2013. Mm-hmm. Because I was around and I know how the internet sentiment was on John Cena at that time. And it was very negative, and he was pretty much like the poster boy of like everything wrong with the company, and it had been amongst hardcore fans for like a decade. But maybe correct me if I'm wrong, it's been a love fest for John Cena the last couple of years. People have been happy to see him. A lot of the kids that were the Let's Go Cena kids grew up, and they're now today's adults, and they're the ones going and cheering for the guy and lauding him as an all-time great. And so there was a bit of a narrative disconnect for me as a viewer. I'm watching and I'm like, what are you mad about, dude? These people have showed you nothing but love in recent years. And so that just felt very disconnected from what I had just seen at Elimination Chamber. And then beyond that, The Rock wasn't mentioned initially, right? And so my initial reaction was, okay, for that to work now, Cody has to be the character to point out that this is just bullshit. This is an excuse. You're lying to yourself and to these people. Why don't you really get into why you did what you did? Because that can also happen. Human beings can do bullshit, stupid, messed up stuff and make excuses and not be honest with themselves about why they did it. And it's totally within, it would make sense in this framework for John Cena to just not be forthright about that and not want to admit openly that he just saw that he just wasn't what he used to be, right? So it's up to then another character to point it out. And Cody Rhodes, I mean, the initial response, he dismissed it. He was like, you better bring the real John Cena to Mania, not this John Cena. This guy's a whiny bitch, right? And I thought at least Cody started to trend towards what I've been asking for this last week, because he basically was just like, dude, why? Like, he basically was just like, man, cut this crap. It has nothing to do with anything that you're talking about. Why don't you really get into why you fucking linked up with The Rock? And he kind of like pointed in that direction. And again, I still want more explored with that aspect of it, because again, I think the money in this is John Cena, last leg, desperate man, willing to do desperate things, and Cody having to overcome that. That's more interesting than John Cena just pointing his finger at the fans, because the money conflict is Cody versus Cena. It's not Cena versus the audience. Beyond that, I thought that this last week, there was an acknowledgement from the story and the main character itself that John Cena is full of shit. And here's the thing, characters can be full of shit. They can be wrong. They can lie. They can not tell the truth. They can be unreliable narrators. But the story has to acknowledge this. And this week, it acknowledged that, like, that's not why John Cena did the heel turn. So, again, to fully exploit the potential of this angle, which is still big, but it's like, right, people, when this thing happened, right, people were like, oh, my God, this is like another NWO angle. This is that. And it's like, right, and it's like, it could be that level of impactful, but you really have to wait and see. It's way too premature to say things like that without knowing where it goes, because this can go in two ways, Ryan. Remember, Hulk Hogan versus Rock at WrestleMania 18. Rock beats Hogan, and Hogan turns babyface afterwards, and they're like celebrating together, right? Mm-hmm. There's a version of this program with Cena and Cody where Cody just beats him. And then John kind of becomes the real John Cena. He sees the light, and then they celebrate together. And if they do that, then you absolutely did not get the most potential out of this angle. You absolutely did not get the most you could out of the story here. And so the other version of this angle is one where John Cena beats Cody Rhodes. And if he beats Cody Rhodes, you give yourself more time to flesh out what this new John Cena even is. Because as of right now, 3 weeks in, Ryan, I feel like there's conflicting ideas as to what they want him to be. I think that there's a conflicting vision there. I feel like there's 1 week they want to do this with him, another week they try this, then they try that. It feels like they're tweaking on the fly and playing it by ear, fine tuning it based on what's resonating with the audience. And there's nothing inherently wrong with that, because that's pro wrestling. Sometimes you throw things out and see what kind of sticks. But at the same time, you're not going to be able to fully forge the best version of this if you don't give yourself the space to figure that out. So I would like John Cena to go over so that we can figure out what this heel John Cena actually is.
So as a man that has not won in 7 years, and for
Right.
him to sell his soul, there's a lot of insecurity within John Cena's that he's been lashing out the last 3 weeks, of course. And for him to kind of flush out that insecurity, perhaps that is giving him that fire up, that self-security to go in there and face Cody Rhodes, because he knows that he ain't on that level, because he's been at that level. And John Cena, 10 years later, like we said, he knows he's not there. So to have to go with those ways of heelism and go the way with The Rock and so on and so forth, I think he's kind of just trying to get to Cody. And I definitely think that John Cena will be a babyface somewhere down the road,
For sure.
Like you said, perhaps at a WrestleMania, like a WrestleMania 18 style. Here's the thing, I can see a scenario where that happens as well, and it all plays with the insecurity that John Cena has because of the last 7 years of not being the guy, because he knows what it's like to be the guy. Or you're looking at the version, like you said, is he firing himself up because he knows he has to get there, and this is the new version of that guy, and he needed to do this for himself to get to that level, to be the guy, because he knows what it's like to be the guy in this company. So like you said, week 1, it was fine. Like it was cute in a way, because it's like he makes fun, he points to the kid, and then we have an instant meme. It's the first time we ever heard him with this tone, and it's like the first time he wore this shade of whatever color that he's trying to paint. Second week, he put on another layer of primer. We didn't really get much out of it. He made fun of the toy belt, and then he says he's going to take that toy belt and really take wrestling away from everyone. And then we kind of got into the meat and the potatoes of last week. Digs back and forth, low-hanging fruit that's there, like the Nepo baby, the first Nepo baby of the week. The bingo card was 7 for 3 different feuds. They barely just missed that with the Nepo baby line throughout the WWE, but they still got time to WrestleMania to call everyone a Nepo baby, but they're getting there. They're getting there for sure.
Right.
But what did you think of the back and forth, especially about last week? Do you have a favorite line? Because that's the one you were saying that you were kind of most excited about, because that's what they're really going to sink their teeth into at WrestleMania. We can bitch about builds all along, but we've been around forever. Charlotte Flair has never had a good WrestleMania build, but she's had a handful of good WrestleMania matches. So the journey is more about just kind of getting us excited. Once the bell rings, we're going to be excited for this Night 2 main event. But overall, I was pretty excited in the moment, but I definitely agree with the sentiment that it was a hat on a hat for the first 2 weeks, but it was kind of fun to establish Cena as a heel because we never seen him in that light.
Yeah.
And last week was meaningful, and that's like that video package promo that we got. Are there any key points that you had in that promo, or what's your overall feeling of it? I know you said you liked it, but have the
floor. It was easily the best segment of this program so far. Here's why it works more than anything, because depending on certain people's taste, their mileage will vary on some of the things that were said in the promo. But beyond anything, Ryan, part of why that segment worked more than the first 2 was that it was about Cody versus John Cena.
Yes.
And that's what I want. Sell me on their conflict, their direct personal issue. And again, personal issues draw money, Ryan. No WrestleMania, it's the biggest show of the year. I want to see the big fights with the big superstars going one-on-one in singles matches with personal issues, with something on the line, with stakes, right? And a lot of the other shows matches on this card, for example, there's a lack of some of that. There's a lack of like, what's their direct issue? What's their direct conflict? What's on the line here? And what worked with this week's segment is that unlike weeks 1 and week 2, where the focus was John Cena versus the fans, and they're trying to get heat off that, they made it John Cena versus Cody. And I think what they need to realize, and I think they might have realized in that last week, is you'll get heat by the fans by simply having John Cena go against Cody, because guess what? Cody Rhodes is this promotion's hero. He's their top babyface. He's their main character, their protagonist. If you go against Cody, you're going against WWE, and these fans like WWE and they like Cody. Mm-hmm. So all he has to do is just shoot for the head there, and the fans will back Cody Rhodes and say, no, fuck that, screw you. We're backing Cody. And so I just liked that there was actual noticeable, palpable venom between John Cena and Cody Rhodes. There was a chippiness to their exchange that I enjoyed. And then when it comes to key lines, one of the things that I got a kick out of personally was Cody basically made it. They drew a through line between John Cena creating disillusioned wrestling fans and Cody Rhodes helping and aiding in the creation of AEW. And it's not one of those things where it's like one thing immediately directly leads to the other, like in truth and actuality. But narratively, you can draw a through line between that domino effect, because the fact of the matter is, John Cena did create a lot of disenfranchised wrestling fans in the mid-2000s. There were a lot of people that, a certain generation of wrestling fans were like, I'm not really jiving with John Cena, man. He's beating a lot of my favorites, like Kurt Angle and Chris Jericho and guys like that. And a lot of those fans, they just weren't feeling WWE the way they were prior. And those are the guys that ended up coming to the shows protesting with the Cena sucks chants and things like that. And you can't wrestle. And eventually a lot of those fans became the fans that just at some point said, I've had enough of this. And by that point, it's a lot of people that were doing that for reasons not related to John Cena, but there is a domino effect. And so John Cena creates this disillusioned, disenfranchised, hardcore online fan. They grow out of favor with the WWE. They begin to seek alternatives in pro wrestling. They look in other directions. They latch on and veer towards those types of pro wrestling. And then next thing you know, you have a promotion that basically goes, hey, you guys right here, come to us. Watch what we're doing. We'll provide a wrestling that will better service your needs as a fan. And lo and behold, one of the people that was pivotal in the creation of this new promotion is Cody Rhodes. And again, that's using reality to draw a connection between two guys in a conflict. And in this case, it's Cody and Cena. So I like that kind of thing. I also like it, Ryan, because in WWE canon, John Cena is just straight up recognized as the objective greatest of all time in WWE. And at least on this night, we had somebody go, hey, look, by the way, just throwing it out there, like a lot of people didn't fucking like you,
No doubt.
Like a lot of people didn't fucking like you. So that was cool. It just felt like, it felt honest is the best way to put it. It felt honest. It didn't feel like it was insulting your intelligence. So I like that part. John Cena took the dig at Tony Khan, where he basically said, look, man, I make empires for billionaires. You steal from their sons. Great line. It's also great because John Cena basically framing himself as like the guy that helped AIDS billionaires. Like, here's the thing. Most of us who watch pro wrestling, we're not rich people, right? And we're not out here like, just cheering on, like, we're not, billionaires aren't baby faces to most common American folks, right? And so John Cena being like, oh man, I help billionaires and framing it like a great positive thing, that's a great thing for a heel to do. And also, considering he sold out to The Rock, who is like Mr. Hollywood, like, it's the perfect way to position himself, John Cena, as like a soulless vehicle for commerce and just and the entertainment industry. And so, again, if you really want to flesh out this thing, it would be so great if we get the space to like look into what being The Rock's champion actually means. Like, you can infer that it means John Cena is going to have doors open for him by The Rock, and he'll further help him with opportunities outside of pro wrestling. And that also ties into John Cena saying, I want to ruin pro wrestling by taking this belt and taking it with me. Because if John Cena, let's be real, John Cena's not going to be there on Raw every week.
Nope.
But if he's champion and then he walks away with that, that's the heat. And he even said himself that's what he's going to do. And again, you tie that to The Rock and like, the billionaire thing and Hollywood and like what John Cena really actually wants to do. it's like you can centralize John Cena's main goal as, I'm giving wrestling fans a gigantic fuck you. I got everything I needed out of WWE. And now for me to take my next big step in life and in my career, I can do so not by you being the fans, by what Rock and his opportunities can provide me. And so that's how you tie this whole thing together. And Cody Rhodes, the folk hero, the babyface chosen by the fans, the guy that represents WWE, the guy that makes all the dates, all the towns, the signings, the radios, all that stuff. He's the guy who's going to fight to protect that championship and keep it home. And so that's the interest, that's the money, that's where the meat of the matter is. That last segment, I thought, if nothing else, it created the atmosphere and tone that I wanted out of this, the animosity and touching on some of the themes and the topics that I think would work best for this storyline. And what I would say about it is I was satisfied with it as a verbal interaction. And I think it opens the door for hopefully one really, really powerful, visually striking and dynamic physical angle. And I know John Cena hit all his advertised dates.
Yep.
He was advertised for Belgium. He was advertised for Italy. He was advertised for where are they last week? London, right? London.
Yeah.
Right. I have a sneaking suspicion, Ryan, he will make one more appearance on one of these TVs before WrestleMania. Again, he's been advertised for all his appearances. I think he's making one more. And I think on that last one, ideally, he does something really dastardly to Cody Rhodes. And it's like a physical angle. And even better if somehow, some way, Rock and or Travis Scott can be in the angle. If not in the angle, hopefully on the night at WrestleMania. Yeah. I think if they do, this whole thing ties together. We've landed the plane safely on this build. We deliver on the potential of this angle, and we go from there.
Yeah, I that was my next transition spot. We have 0 advertised dates for John Cena, and they even like the dirt sheets have kind of pushed out that John Cena's done, right? And the WWE don't fuck around with that. They kind of did that for a reason. I think your sentiment, I kind of sniff it and smell it as well. Honestly, I think the most effective way to do it, to be a little fantasy booking, but fuck it, why not, right? Is to advertise The Rock, right? Have The Rock present himself, and then Cody has like a sneak attack type of thing. Because the last words that John Cena was spoken to by Cody Rhodes is that you can't wrestle. And then Cody Rhodes got the one up on him from a wrestling aspect. So John Cena, again, with that insecurity that's deep within him for the reason he turned heel and accepted The Rock, he needs to kind of play into that insecurity, have The Rock catch him in a trap, and then Cody is vulnerable, and then boom, then we get that beatdown that we got last year out in the rain near the tour bus, where they faked the Stone Cold Steve Austin symbol behind us, right? So I'm with you there. I definitely feel that we'll get it on a Raw or maybe even a SmackDown. Where are we? Are we anywhere sexy coming up? We were in Chicago,
Minnesota tomorrow.
Minnesota. Oh yeah.
Yeah, I don't know about that one.
All our Midwestern listeners, I don't know about that. They're too nice for a beatdown, right? Minnesota nice, they're too nice. But
yeah, I don't know.
We'll see. If like we just had MSG, we just had Philly, so I don't think we have anything Northeast that we would get edgy. Oh, we have Seattle. I think Seattle is a SmackDown as well. So not that it necessarily matters, but yeah, I'm all for that. I think that's the way to do it. I think John Cena, again, play into that insecurity, trap Cody, so Cody can feel that trap at WrestleMania to overcome it as we kind of work to the match. Overall, how are you feeling with The Rock and Travis Scott? You think, you kind of hinted you get them towards WrestleMania. Do you think we absolutely need them at WrestleMania in this main event?
I think you'd like to have them very strongly. I think it would help a lot if both of them are there. Travis will be there. I can tell you for a fact, Travis. I don't know if that's a scoop. Maybe I broke a scoop here on the North South Connection Podcast Network. But yeah, Travis Scott will be at WrestleMania. Now, will Dwayne be at WrestleMania? And I can tell you that it was his intention months ago to be at the show. And I remember when I would hear that, I'm like, so is he wrestling? I'd ask people, like, does it mean he's wrestling? And people would say things like, not necessarily. And I was saying, like, so then what is he going to do if he's not wrestling at the show? And this is before the angle. And this is before the whole him asking Cody for his soul, right? Now, once that happened, and then we got the Elimination Chamber deal, I connected the dots and said, "Oh, okay. So I'm guessing he's going to be there on behalf of Cena for in some capacity." So, I would say there's 100% chance Travis is there, and I would say there's like a 60% chance Rock is there. And again, for this to be what it could be, and for it to live up to its potential, I think you need all the elements involved that were there at the Chamber. Because again, not to make this about the casual viewer, because the truth is, it's just a great wrestling angle, and great wrestling angles attract everybody. But the truth is, everybody saw the angle at Elimination Chamber, and you want that visual. You want everybody that was involved at that angle to also be at Mania. You know what I mean? It would just not feel right if all the elements that were at the Chamber that made this feel big were just absent from the big show in the closing stretch on night 2. So for those reasons, my prediction is that The Rock is going to be there along with Travis Scott. And I think somehow, some way, I'll say this now, in this closing stretch, I'll make my official prediction. I'll lock it in. I'll have it on record. It'll be forever documented. People can dunk on this if I'm wrong later, or they can refer back to this when I'm right. Ryan Gray, Ryan of the North South Connection Podcast Network. I think John Cena is beating Cody Rhodes for the WWE Championship.
Okay.
I think he's beating him. And I think it sets up Cody Rhodes' rest of his road to SummerSlam. I think he will be the fallen champion that feels like he let down the WWE universe. And I think his big goal is going to be to not only bring the WWE Championship back to WWE, I think he's going to promise the fans he's going to bring John Cena back. And what I mean by John Cena is like the John Cena that he believed in, the John Cena that he saw as a hero, the John Cena that was a hero to millions. And so I think his goal is going to be to get back to defeat John Cena, to rip him from the clutches of Dwayne Johnson and the Evil Empire. And John's going to be able to close the rest of his retirement tour out in grace, I guess is the best way to put it. So that's my personal locked in, official, on record prediction for this match.
And to add to that, a line from the promo last week, John, I still consider you a friend. You're just an asshole, right? So yeah, the redemption story of Cody bringing John Cena back is kind of fitting in that way based off that line. And of course, how we're getting there. See, I always thought that John would come up. I didn't think, but I liked the scenario where John kind of came up short. It was his fault to an extent, but the Travis Scotts, the Rocks, maybe they were equalized, so to speak, with like maybe an Austin or I don't know, whatever, right? Not to get too in the weeds. And then they found themselves one-on-one. Cena kind of dug deep in a heelish way, and it backfired. Cody overcame it, and we built to a babyface versus babyface. John Cena felt Cody Rhodes at WrestleMania. John Cena kind of rallied himself up. He got rid of his insecurities. He went through this journey to find himself, and he found himself in defeat at WrestleMania. And hustle, loyalty, and respect, it will bring him to promise, and he's going to win the 17 as a face. I think there's another version for that too. That's the kind of version that I felt was going. I'm starting to lean the other way though as we get closer to WrestleMania. Historically, I just don't. At first, historically, I'm like, does John Cena really win 17? If whatever it means, right? To like, I'm a casual. Like I accept Cena. Let's put it that way. Like he's kind of indifferent to me. But for the Cena guys that you talked about, all those young kids that are kind of garnering up now. For Cena to win it as a heel, would it mean much more? His last one, I think it'd be awesome. I think it'd be cool and different and unique. But to him, to his fan base, would they want to see it as a heel? Would they want to see it as a face? I always thought it as a face, even though if we didn't have this heel turn and we were in a basket of Cody Rhodes babyface versus John Cena babyface, I think it'd be a pile of shit, right? But as we are now, I'm pretty good with how they got us here. And 2 more weeks, I'm looking forward to it. I'm at like an 8 or a 9 out of 10, and I'm anticipating it. I'm leaning Cena I'm leaning Cody right now. You're leaning Cena. I might jump to the other side when we get closer. We'll see kind of how we get there.
I there's you can easily make the argument for either side on this in terms of like what's the realistic outcome.
Yeah.
But what I think is the best outcome for the story and the potential, I think it's like hard to argue that it's John Cena.
And I agree with you there.
Yeah. But a lot of people that I know do think Cody's probably just going to win, and they have every reason to, truthfully.
Which is good for a WrestleMania build. You legit have a 50-50 split. It's very good.
Absolutely.
In that aspect.
So we'll see what they end up doing, because here's the other thing. Drew McIntyre was moved to SmackDown for the express purpose of working with Cody for the belt.
Yep.
But that did also happen. That move was made before they decided to do what they're doing with John Cena here.
Yeah.
So,
and he needed to get away from Punk and all that stuff too, right?
For sure. So we'll see what they end up doing, man. We'll see what they end up doing. And I want to thank while I'm here. I want to thank everybody tuning in, man. We have 131 live viewers here.
We've grown the whole time. Yeah.
Yeah, man. I appreciate everybody that's tuned into this show. I know it's a weird time, late afternoon on a Sunday, AEW pay-per-view day, but I want to just thank the audience, man, for showing out. And if you haven't already, please just like the video. It helps with the visibility and things like that. Just like the video, please. And thanks for just popping out. So shout out to the chat that's been very involved and active throughout this whole thing.
Yeah, I wish we had time to kind of share everything. Here's my buddy right here, Probably Wrong Podcast. Check him out, guys. Give him a cheap plug as we're on it. If you like sports, he's based out of Boston. Don't hold it against him. As am I, as you can tell. But but Ibou, this was great. One last final question: do you think we have a scenario of a match structure like we had last year, where it was just like bomb fest, guys run in, bomb fest, guys run in?
Yes.
Okay, and so you think? See, as we get deeper and we have more bloodline type rules, I think it takes away from it.
I agree. I agree too. I just prefer a killer match of great drama, personally.
I just don't know if Cena's capable of that at the age he is. But with this character and this new, set of deodorant that he has on him, he might be fine, right? But
I think the character, the people involved. Here's the thing about it. I can see WWE being like, "Oh man, we're worried about John. We should do something to protect him in there." But I'll say this about it: even if John isn't physically up to it, I think Cody's like the company's most reliable big match wrestler.
Yeah,
and I'm pretty trusting of Cody Rhodes going out there for 25 to 30 minutes in a big show, doing what he has to do, and I think the crowd will just be with them. And as long as the crowd is with them, the match is going to be good. I think Cody Rhodes just being Cody and steering the ship and doing what he has to do, and John simply just being John Cena. I think the crowd will the match will be heated. Is my point. And we'll see how high it climbs, man. If John is up to it and physically he can bring it, you're gonna look at one of the great WrestleMania main events. If he's not, if it's kind of iffy, then it's gonna depend on all the other surrounding elements.
Yeah, because at 39 we got a fantastic wrestled match, and then last year we had the cinematic
right,
which both were awesome in their own way, and they were separate entities in a way, even though they kind of went together. But Roman Reigns and John Cena at this age, let's put it that way, is just a little concerning. All right, Ibou, it was great, man. Any last thing? Throw it out there, dude.
Sure, folks. If you enjoyed this, follow me on Twitter. If you don't follow me, at Backup Hangman. But maybe more importantly, follow at Selfmade PW. That's the Discord that I run with three of my other buddies. And tonight we'll be in that Discord, which has a $5 get-in price, and we'll be live reacting and watching alongside you guys AEW Dynasty, which is tonight. So shout out to the Selfmade Discord. Again, it's just a great environment, in my opinion. We watch wrestling, we watch movies, anime, TV shows. We play games in there, various games, watch sports, and all that kind of stuff. So it's a really fun, really diverse Discord. We do all kinds of cool activities. On the Patreon, if you join the Patreon, you'll have access to the Discord. And on the Patreon, there's all my archived podcast content that I've done inside the Discord alongside my guys. So again, $5 to get in. and I'll be in there live tonight watching AEW Dynasty. So follow at SelfMadePW on Twitter, and the link to join the Patreon is in the bio. So that's kind of my big plug. I'll be on Wrestle Pierce tomorrow night. I'll be hosting Wrestle Pierce Worldwide with Joe Hobart and Anna DeMarco, and we will be talking about AEW Dynasty, and you'll be able to find me there on YouTube tomorrow at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
All right, guys, check it out. And we got about 14, 15 more of these to come as we get closer to WrestleMania. So, Ibou, thanks, man.
Appreciate you, Ryan.